Good afternoon. Welcome to the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. Let us start the news bulletin with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi discusses emerging energy scenario in the world as he meets CEOs of top global and Indian oil and gas companies. Focus on challenges posed by volatile oil prices and US sanctions on Iran. Early warning system launched to prevent air quality levels at least 2 days in advance. Emergency action plan to combat pollution comes into force today in Delhi. Measures like stopping garbage burning in landfills, use of diesel generator sets to be implemented. Terrorism, a major threat to humanity, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, underscores education for peace and learning to live together, adds values of empathy and tolerance embedded in curriculum can prevent conflict. Campaigning ahead of Madhya Pradesh Assembly polls, big space. BJP President Amit Shah's rallies in Satna, Rewa and Jabalpur. Congress President Rahul Gandhi on two-day visit to the state from today. And Saudi Arabia responds to talk of sanctions over disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, warns retaliation. US President Donald Trump had threatened a severe punishment if it turns out that Khashoggi was killed in Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The top story this afternoon, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is brainstorming with the chief executives of top global and Indian oil and gas companies on emerging energy scenario. The meeting, coordinated by the Niti Aayog, is focusing on the challenges posed by volatile oil prices and the US sanctions on Iran. The third annual meeting would also discuss ways to revive investment in oil and gas exploration and production. It will also look at measures to attract investments and the steps for making it easier to do business in India. The first meeting was on 5th of January 2016 and the second one in October 2017. And PTI is quoting sources as saying that Saudi oil minister Khalid Al-Fali, BP CEO Bob Dudley, Total head Patrick Foyane, Reliance Industries chairman Mukesh Ambani and Vedanta chief Anil Agarwal are expected to attend the meeting today. And the RBI's data localization norms kick in from today. The deadline for global financial technology companies to comply with its data localization norms were till today. The central bank in April gave 6 months' time to the global payment companies to store transaction details of the Indian customers within India. However, the US wants to prohibit data localization to ensure free flow of information across borders. Now, 2 US senators have called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi to soften India's stance on data localization. They warned that the measures requiring it represent key trade barriers between the two nations. Data localization requires data about residents to be collected, processed and stored inside the country, often before being transferred internationally and usually transferred only after meeting the local privacy or the data protection laws. Although domestic companies have welcomed the guidelines, the global companies fear increase in their expenses for the creation of local servers. And the ministerial panel under Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Modi will meet today to examine the modalities for revenue mobilization by levying additional tax under the GST in the case of natural calamities. Last month, Kerala had mooted a plan for the imposition of a cess on goods and services sold within the state to help it tide over the losses suffered due to the recent floods before the GST Council. And following deliberations, the Council decided to constitute a 7-member group of ministers under Sushil Modi to look into the possibility of imposing a separate tax under the GST to help states hit by natural calamities and also suggesting scenarios where this tax should be levied. The panel would submit its report to the GST Council by 31st of October. And Environment Minister Harshvardhan today launched the Air Quality Emergency Early Warning System and associated website in New Delhi. Now, this system is equipped to predict the air quality levels at least 2 days in advance. It will draw data from 36 monitoring stations run by the Central Pollution Control Board, Delhi Pollution Control Committee and also suffer, and will factor in the real-time aerosol information from NASA satellites, giving a prediction, taking meteorological factors also into account. Now, this will not only help the residents brace for high pollution days, it will also be helping in enabling the graded response action plan to be implemented in advance.
अगर ये एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स है तो ये वेदर इट इज़ ए पुअर क्वालिटी और ए सिवियर और मॉडरेट गुड बैड व्हाटएवर, ये 4-6 के करीब उसमें क्लासिफिकेशंस हैं. अभी व्हाट वी हैव डन, जैसे पिछले बार सडनली कुछ आ गया और सडनली तकलीफ हो गई, इस बार हमारे यही तीनों संस्थानों के वैज्ञानिकों ने मिलकर ये प्रयास किया है कि हम जो एयर पोल्यूशन के लेवल्स हैं उसके बारे में अगर वो ख़राब होने की संभावना है तो कम से कम रफली 3 दिन पहले हम वार्निंग देने की स्थिति में हो, उसके लिए हम 3 दिन पहले कैलकुलेशंस करें. और इसमें जो अमेरिकन एक मॉडल है और एक फिनलैंड का फिनिश मॉडल है, उन दोनों के साथ साइंटिफिक कोलैबोरेशन करके हमारे इन 3 इंस्टीट्यूशंस ने ये सारी की सारी प्रक्रिया जो है इसको डेवलप किया है.
And the emergency action plan combat air pollution that has begun to show a trend towards a very poor category in Delhi is in force from today. Now, under the emergency plan called Graded Response Action Plan, stringent actions are implemented based on the air quality of the city. The measures to be used will include stopping the garbage burning in landfills, enforcing all pollution control regulation in brick kilns as well as industries, stopping the use of diesel generator sets, enhancing parking fee 3 to 4 times, increasing frequency of mechanized cleaning of roads, sprinkling of water on roads, among others. Currently, the air quality is in the poor category, but authorities have predicted that it would reach the very poor category in the next couple of days. Burning of paddy straw every year during October and November in Punjab and Haryana are the major contributors of air pollution in Delhi NCR. And 6 new cases of Zika virus have been detected in Jaipur on Sunday, taking the total number of infected people to now 61. The figures were released after a review meeting chaired by Additional Chief Secretary Medical and Health. Of the infected people, 11 are pregnant women. And today the centre will review the outbreak of Zika in the Rajasthan state capital. Most of the cases which have been reported are from Shastri Nagar area, where fogging and other anti-larvae activities are being carried out to prevent the spread of the virus. Till Saturday, door-to-door survey at 76,000 households was conducted and mosquito larvae were found and quarantined in nearly 64,000 households. The State Health Department has also issued an advisory for the pregnant women staying outside the affected area to not visit Shastri Nagar area. In India, the first outbreak was reported in Ahmedabad in July 2017 and the second one in Tamil Nadu in July that year. Both these outbreaks were successfully contained through intensive surveillance as well as vector management.
As per the guidelines of Government of India, we are combing the entire area, especially Shastri Nagar. We have surveyed about 60,000 households and vector surveillance is being done, fever surveillance is being done. Lot of treatment for vector control is being done, and more than 200 teams are visiting these houses every day. So the vector density has reduced considerably. We have identified fever patients, we have identified pregnant women, and samples are being drawn. Testing is on.
And BJP President Amit Shah will address party functions at Satna, Rewa and Jabalpur districts of poll-bound Madhya Pradesh today. Shah, who is on a two-day visit to the state starting from Sunday, will also address a tribal function at Dindori district. On Sunday, the BJP president said that the issue of infiltration is a matter of national security for the BJP. Speaking at a party workers' convention at Hoshangabad in Madhya Pradesh, he added that the BJP government will expel every infiltrator from entering the country after winning the 2019 Lok Sabha election. During his visit, he also made an appeal to the party workers to ensure a massive victory of the party in the poll-bound states, including Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan in 2018.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए घुसपैठिए देश की सुरक्षा का मुद्दा है। मैं पूछना चाहता हूं राहुल गांधी को, अब जब मध्य प्रदेश आइए जवाब दीजिए, ये घुसपैठियों को देश से निकालना चाहिए या नहीं निकालना चाहिए। उन्होंने मध्य प्रदेश की जनता को बताना चाहिए, जब एक घुसपैठिए घुसकर बम धमाके करते हैं और इस देश के नागरिकों की मृत्यु होती है, इसकी जिम्मेदारी क्या आप लेने के लिए तैयार हो?
And Congress President Rahul Gandhi will also be on a two-day election campaign in Gwalior Chambal region of Madhya Pradesh starting today. During his two-day tour, Rahul Gandhi, accompanied by State Congress President Kamal Nath and Election Committee Chief Jyotiraditya Scindia, will address 6 public meetings and hold 2 road shows while campaigning for the party in Gwalior, Datia, Shiopur and Morena districts. And earlier, in fact, on Tuesday, he will visit the Gurudwara inside the Gwalior Fort and travel to Shiopur to address a public meeting. An Assam government bill proposing to allow companies to retrench up to 300 employees without seeking prior approval of the government has now received the presidential assent. President Ram Nath Kovind approved the Industrial Disputes Assam Amendment Bill 2017. That will replace the Industrial Disputes Act 1947. It is aimed at pushing the ease of doing business mantra of the government. The amendment seeks to encourage a positive business environment in the state. Under the new legislation, the compensation to a retrenched labourer will be 60 days' salary instead of the present 15 days' salary, and no government permission will be required for the retrenchment. The President has also given assent to the Motor Vehicles Haryana Amendment Bill 2018 that authorizes the state transport undertaking to operate any vehicle on any route as a stage carrier under any permit. Time for a very short break here. We'll be right back with more news. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addressed participants of the 11-month course on National Security and Strategy at the National Defence College in New Delhi today. And in his speech, he shared his thoughts on India's perspectives on building a secure and peaceful world. He said that extremism, terrorism, communalism, violence against women and numerous other forms of violent behavior need a concerted approach. He added that education for peace and learning to live together is the need of the hour. Education with the values of empathy, compassion, tolerance and goodness embedded in the curriculum can prevent conflict and also violence. He said that India is a mature parliamentary democracy and the ballot has proved to be far more powerful than the bullet.
To ensure security, we need to have a multi-pronged approach. The battle has to be fought on multiple fronts. Extremism, terrorism, communalism, violence against women, and numerous other forms of violent behavior need a concerted approach. The preamble of the Constitution of UNESCO declares that, I quote, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defense of peace must be constructed," unquote. The defense of peace must be constructed in a number of places, starting with schools, colleges, universities, workplaces and places of worship, homes and in the fields. Education for peace and learning to live together is the need of the hour. Education with values of empathy, compassion, tolerance and goodness embedded in the curriculum can prevent conflict and irrational violence. Community education, interfaith understanding, and evolution of societal norms that encourage harmony and zero tolerance towards violence of all kinds can provide the foundation for a secure society.
And Minister of State for Textiles Ajay Tamta on Sunday inaugurated the 46th edition of the world's largest IHGF Delhi Fair at India Expo Centre and Mart at Greater Noida. Speaking on the occasion, Tamta said that this fair has played a vital role in increasing the exports of handicrafts from the country. He said that the participation by over 3,200 exhibitors in this fair and the visit of overseas buyers from over 110 countries shows its popularity amongst Indian handicrafts exporters and importers. The fair IHGF, held biannually, is organised by Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts. The minister said that the government is not only providing assistance to these craftsmen in the form of subsidies through various schemes, but also on transport for bringing their products to the common facility centres.
ग्रामीण हाट का स्वरूप आज आपको ये दिख रहा है जो विश्व हाट के रूप तक बदल रहा है। तो यानी कि सोच वहीं से शुरू हुई है, आज पूरे देश दुनिया के अंदर है। तो मैं ऐसे महात्मा गांधी जी के इस विजन को बड़ा करने पर आप सबका योगदान है। देश की चीज़ें यहाँ आए और यहाँ की चीज़ें विदेश जाए। जो भी संस्कार संस्कृति से जुड़ी हुई चीज़ें हैं जो लोगों को लोभाती हैं, तो ये सोच भी महात्मा गांधी जी के ही उस शुरुआत के ही कारण थी। और उसका उपलक्ष्य आप देख रहे हैं कि दुनिया में हम सबका व्यवसाय बढ़ रहा है और इसके कारण हमारे गरीब शिल्पकार मजदूर इन लोग समूह को रोजगार मिलता है।
हमारे EPCH का जो गोल है और मकसद है और मिशन है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में रॉ मटेरियल बहुत डिफरेंट हैं जो हमारे अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ द कंट्री हैं। सेकेंडली हम लोग वहाँ पे करीब 10 साल से काम कर रहे हैं एंड हमने काफ़ी इन्वेस्ट किया है लोगों को ट्रेन करने में, प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट करने में, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स डेवलपमेंट करने में। और अभी आप देखते हो कि हर साल प्रोडक्ट जो होता है उसमें क्वालिटी इम्प्रूव हो रही है, नए नए एंटरप्रेन्योर्स जुड़ रहे हैं, उनका उत्साह बढ़ा रहे हैं, हम उनके संग हैंड होल्डिंग कर रहे हैं।
And Minister of State for External Affairs MG Akbar has rejected sexual harassment allegations against him. He termed the allegations as baseless and wild. In a statement after returning from his official foreign visit, MG Akbar said that the accusation without evidence has become a viral fever among some sections. The minister said that whatever be the case, his lawyers will look into the allegations to decide the future course of legal action. He added that these allegations have caused irreparable damage to his reputation and goodwill. The minister said that lies do not have legs, but they do contain poison which can easily result in a frenzy. Multiple female journalists have claimed that they were sexually harassed by Akbar during his stint as the editor. Meanwhile, several opposition parties, including the Congress, have been insisting on Akbar's resignation. And a group of Afghan diplomats will begin training from today as part of an India-China joint initiative. The joint training program is being held after an understanding for such a cooperation was reached during an informal summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping held in April at China's Wuhan city. The first India-China joint training program for Afghan diplomats will be held till 26th of October. Earlier, Indian ambassador to Afghanistan, Vinay Kumar, hosted 10 Afghan diplomats who will be travelling to India for the first India-China joint training program for Afghan diplomats under the aegis of the trilateral cooperation between India, China and Afghanistan. News from Afghanistan, where 17 Afghan soldiers have been killed and 11 others have been abducted in an attack on an army base by the Taliban in the western Farah province. Afghan officials say that the attack that began on late Saturday continued till Sunday morning in the district of Pusht-Rod in the Farah province. The Taliban also overran 2 checkpoints near the base, seizing weapons and ammunition. The troops defending the base reportedly received air supports or reinforcements. Big story coming in from Turkey, where at least 22 people, including a number of children, were killed when a vehicle carrying migrants plunged off the highway into a waterway in western Turkey. Now, state-run media say that the lorry crashed through a barrier and landed in an irrigation canal 65 feet below in the western province of Izmir. The migrants were reportedly heading for EU member Greece. A news agency said that the driver, a Turkish national, had survived, telling police that he had swerved to avoid an incoming vehicle. And US President Donald Trump says that he is considering a new family separation policy at the US-Mexico border and that the practice could dissuade immigrants from entering the country illegally. Donald Trump defended his administration's policy of separating immigrant children from their parents on the US-Mexico border, saying that it was needed to secure the border and deter illegal immigration. Donald Trump was earlier forced to end the zero-tolerance policy under which some 2,600 children were separated from their parents after public furor. Donald Trump also reiterated his opposition to the lottery system for immigration and called for a system based on merit. Donald Trump also renewed his view that the so-called chain migration is bad. Now, chain migration is a program which allows for non-citizen relatives of the U.S. residents who are living abroad to obtain visas and ultimately, in some cases, citizenship.
We need people coming in, but we want them to come in on a merit. We want people that are going to help us. It's very important. We want them to come in on a merit basis. Our country is doing, we're the hottest country in the world, economically, by far. You take a look at us compared to China, compared to everybody else. We're the hottest country in the world. A lot of people are trying to come in.
And Saudi Arabia has dismissed threats of sanctions over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi and vowed that it would retaliate against such an action. An official source quoting state news agency SPA said the kingdom affirms its total rejection of any threats or attempts to undermine it, whether through threats to impose economic sanctions or the use of political pressure. Remember, US President Donald Trump had said that there would be severe punishment for Saudi Arabia if it turns out that the journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed in Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Saudi Arabia has been under intense pressure since Khashoggi, a prominent critic of Riyadh and US President, disappeared on 2nd of October after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Meanwhile, Britain, France and Germany have called for credible investigation into the disappearance of the journalist. And the Maldives Supreme Court will resume hearings today on a complaint filed by outgoing President Abdullah Yameen to cancel the result of presidential elections that were held last month. President's legal team presented the case and the Election Commission lawyers offered its response during the first hearing that was held on Sunday afternoon. The full bench of the Apex Court also heard from the lawyers representing the joint opposition parties who were allowed to enter the case as a third party. The complaint was filed last week by Progressive Party of Maldives, led by President, claiming it had received numerous complaints from their supporters. A statement by the PPM said that the vote was the most farcical election in living memory, with vote rigging also rampant and many people unable to cast their ballots. The opposition candidate Ibrahim Mohammed Solih had defeated Yameen by more than 34,000 votes in that election, which was later accepted by the latter a day later. All the sporting action in cricket, India has swept the Test series 2-0 against West Indies, winning the second and the final match by 10 wickets in Hyderabad. India chased the meagre target of 72 runs in the second innings in just 16.1 overs without losing any wickets. West Indies were all out for 127 in the second innings. Umesh Yadav was declared the player of the match for his maiden 10-wicket haul, and Prithvi Shaw was named as the player of the series. Earlier, India, resuming their overnight score of 308 for 4, were all out for 367 in their first innings, taking a lead of 56 runs. For India, it is their 10th series win at home since their last defeat against England way back in 2012. And in the Youth Olympics at the Argentinian capital Buenos Aires, Indian wrestler Simran settled for a silver in the women's freestyle 43-kilogram category competition after she lost to Ermile Shilson of the United States in the final bout. Now, this is India's fifth silver along with 3 gold in the ongoing event. The medals won by shuttler Lakshya Sen, shooter Manu Bhaker and judoka Tabebi Devi in the mixed team events are not counted in the country's total medal tally as they had paired with the athletes of other countries. And in hockey, Indian men's and women's teams both lost their respective final matches. And that's a wrap on this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.